Are you guys doing any of the tenant fit outs over there?
We have not received. No, we've not been awarded one yet.
Yeah, but you guys did the whole building over there.
Yeah,
a lot of the residences.
we did all the
Yeah,
residences.
yeah.
So that was a very interesting. So we were there 6 years. I think we started there in either late 2018 or 19, enabling.
Yeah.
All right. And so before anyone, what was very interesting about it was when they built South Station, they put piles in ahead of time, anticipating building a building there.
Yeah, I mean, 20 years ago, I think, right?
Then Heinz Group took them over 25 years. I mean, as long as you and I have probably been in our career, we heard about this job.
Yep.
You know, this fictitious job that was out there. So it finally came to fruition.
Yep.
I
mean, permitting took 15 at least.
Which
right?
one?
For South Station, I think to permit the job, it took 15 or 20 years.
It was outrageous.
Yeah.
So what was very interesting about the job is, so you're looking at, I'm not sure where it ranks in Boston, but it's 54 stories. The whole job is built on 4 super columns. That whole entire tower is 4 super columns.
Yeah.
So what the interesting thing about...
That's the arches underneath, right?
No, these are massive square. So, and again, remember, this is after 9/11. This is after the bombing. So there are these massive square steel beams. But what they did is they took these beams, okay, let me go before that. To support the beams, they had to do what they call micropiles. So the micropiles would set the foundation that would support these 4 columns that transferred the load up the 54 stories. Before they could do the micro columns, they had to relocate a lot of utilities in the basement. So the job was really broken down, I would say, in 3 elements. Enabling, which was was what we considered enabling. So our general foreman, I mean, basically rerouting a lot of high voltage work.
How many layers of train stations are under there?
There's none.
Under the building direct?
No.
That's off to the side a little bit?
It just was off to the side. So you basically have your service tracks.
Yep.
But we had to do so before you really saw much going on above the ground. There was a lot subterranean. In other words, you're doing a lot of enabling to build it. Well, once that was accomplished, then the site work really went into earnest, and enabled them to start, obviously, constructing the tower. But part of that site work, you also have to understand, was an expansion of the bus train facility and the bus and train facility. So the buses now, when they come in, where the bus terminal used to be, that track is now elongated quite a bit. They added parking in there for the tenants and the residences of the building as well.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had to interact with the MBTA as well.
Sure.
Setting up those tracks. So we had to deal with multiple authorities at that time. So when they went into construction, as I mentioned, enabling was done, site, and they began these super columns coming up. As I mentioned before, post 9/11, post what happened, the marathon bombing. So these super columns, now you remember, this is now considered a major transportation hub.
For sure.
So the way the engineering of it was much different because of the mass of people that would be traveling in and out of this transportation hub. So these massive columns, and I couldn't tell you dimensionally how big they are. They were steel columns with rebar set all around them and then poured within concrete. And this went on for quite a while. Also, the staircases that existed were wrapped in steel plates because of
Where the building
potential
fell
bombing.
down. Yeah. Wow.
Because of potential bombing. It was very fascinating watching the construction. I've never seen a building like this in all my career. I've never seen a building like this built before. And I know there's an issue right now in New York City with one of their towers, but when they were building the building and all the steel that exists within that structure, they were like horizontal bracing that was on hydraulic pistons. That
To give leeway?
no, these were
tighten?
temporary.
Oh.
It was to maintain building plumb.
Oh.
That building couldn't be off at all. So there was
Like
a lot of
the one in New York City.
the
one
one
in-
in New York City
one in San Francisco,
is
too.
off plumb.
Yep.
The one in San Francisco
Sinking,
is
I
different
think,
because
right?
that's soil.
Yeah.
The one in New York City, I believe, was because of construction.
Wow.
So you had to maintain plumb for that entire 54. I mean, you got to think about it. A fraction of an inch
Sure.
through that,
54
going up
stories.
that high,
Yeah, it's a foot.
600 or almost 700, 700 feet in the air.
Right.
It would generally taper off. And then it would have hurt the structural integrity as well.
Yeah.
But so going from the 6-year duration of actual construction, again, between enabling the transportation, the tower, fitting out the tower with residences. But prior to that, we probably had 2 years of pre-construction that we were doing, trying to, secure the job, which was very unique. So we lived the job before the job even happened.
I worked 30 years ago this year, 1996. I was out of my time a couple years. I was working at the Big Dig, right at South Station, right on Atlantic Ave. They were putting slurry walls in.
Yes.
And that was the beginning of the Big Dig, really. I mean, it was another 10 years before it opened. But they were talking about South Station Tower back then. There's going to be a building here. They're going to build a 50-story building here the next couple of years.
Yeah.
It took another 25 years before it got going, but they were talking about it 30 years ago.
No, it's been in the works for a very long time. And actually, unfortunately, the senior developer, project management person from Heinz Group, who's based out of Texas,
Yep.
he actually just passed away here this past year.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
about a year ago.
Yeah.
And I remember having some dialogue with him, and he goes, "I've been living this project for over 25 years."
Yeah.
So for him to actually see it come to fruition and be built, and it
Good part of his
became
life, right?
it became an instant iconic piece of Boston.
Oh, yeah.
It stands out.
Yep.
It really does. I mean, that's a once in a lifetime building. And I even said to my general foreman, who now is in my office, I said, "You have to realize you're about less than 0.5% of the electricians in the United States
Yeah, right.
that have worked on a project like this. I mean, I would definitely say less than a half. I mean, obviously, New York City, that's not uncommon.
Yeah. That job, the South Station Tower, and the one right across the way, our pension fund job, the State Street job, right, the big tower there, the two towers. I mean, those are the two, like, crown jewels of the Boston skyline now. I mean, the South Station Tower is a beautiful, beautiful building, and they got their platforms up top with parks, 35 stories up. I mean, that thing is unbelievable.
That's what the public does not see and experience, are the parks that actually, where you see that building
Green space,
transition. So as you look at that building, all of a sudden it steps inward and then continues upward. That's where your residences start.
Yeah.
And that's operated by Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah. Low rent district over there.
Yeah, very low rent district. The views are spectacular.
Yeah.
I mean,
No obstructions, right?
Some of the penthouses, so on the backside of that building, as you're looking at the front of South Station, the backside of the building, those penthouses have like 2-story floor-to-ceiling glass. As you look out, you have more than a 180-degree view of the city.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see Fenway Park over there, and I got a full view of Logan Airport over here.
Yeah.
One of the things that
No
struck me,
obstructions.
but one of the things that, no obstructions. One of the things that really struck me, I was sitting in the penthouse. Well, standing in the penthouse, just walking around, checking it out.
You didn't buy the
Look-
penthouse.
No, I. That's a different level. Also, as I was standing in one of the units, and I'm looking out at Logan Airport. And fortunately enough, we do a lot of work at Logan Airport. We've had the maintenance contract for the high voltage for quite a number of years, and we do a lot of the runway lighting over there. So I was looking down one of the runways. One of the major runway systems is two parallel to one another. And I'm looking over, and you start to see a small little airplane starting to accelerate. All of a sudden, it takes off, and it's getting bigger and bigger.
Coming right at you.
And it's coming right at me. And then all of a sudden, it veers off. And it's like, what happens if the steering goes? Or, God forbid, it is, or terrorism.
That's
right?
why we have height restrictions in Boston, right? I mean, because the airport is like right on top of the city. It's right there.
Well, that's indicative of the entire seaport area.
Yeah. Yep. Right. They're only 25-story max or whatever it is. Yeah. Because of that, because of the airport.
Yeah.
You throw a football at it.
I believe there was recently a study done, too, in terms of height restrictions in
the
different
mayor just
areas.
did something.
Yeah.
With the section of the city to raise the heights because there's no land available, so the only place you can go is up.
No. In one of the things that's been difficult for me is, and I think that this mayor has this opportunity. There is a lot of development scheduled for along the waterfront, and tying in the Big Dig. One great example of that is right there along 4-Point Channel and between there and A Street. So right now, I know there's a developer that has 3 right next to the Lilly building, which was just completed there.
Oh, yeah. The old Gillette area, too. Yep.
So there are 3 buildings, and I just saw the renditions. They want to put like an amphitheater there, public space. It would be a spectacular area for the park and for the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I kind of have a place in the neighborhood there, too. So it would change the dynamic of it. But those buildings are being built over the tunnel.
That's right. The tunnel goes right underneath there.
Correct.
Yep, the Third Harbor Tunnel. That's right out to the airport.
Yep. Right there is the exit staircase. Right there at the edge of the old Gillette P&G.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a ton of work coming. There's a lot of stuff in irons in the fire, whether it's the old Flower Exchange, the Woodette Circle that's off the point of, in the shadow of South Station Tower. But, doing South Station Tower, no, rinky-dink company is going to be able to build and deliver on South Station Tower. I mean, you guys executed that job with precision. The job come out beautifully. It's a crown jewel of the Boston skyline. Now, Mike, I mean, is that McDonald's biggest job? Biggest profile job, biggest money job? That's got to be one of them, right? It's got to be up there.
All the above.
All the above.
I mean, when the final tab in that job is over $100 million.
Yeah, unbelievable.
$100 million job.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just electrical.
Yeah. One of the, if not the biggest job in Boston right now in the last decade or so, last 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
So
there were lessons. Obviously, there were lessons learned.
Always.
But I think through the evolution, since the inception of the company to where we are today.
Yeah, that's what I kind of wanted to get back. Like McDonald Electric wasn't always doing $100 million electrical jobs, right? You guys had some humble beginnings, right? I think you celebrated your 25th anniversary.
That is correct.
A year or two ago.
Yeah.
I mean, your first job wasn't a 60-story high-rise, right?
27 years, March 19th this year.
Is that right? Coming right up on 27. I'd love to hear more about McDonald's humble beginnings. We all know the great stories and the success stories of the big office towers and the Quincy bus electric terminals, and we'll get to all that. But I want to go back to Wayback Machine a little bit and hear about, how Mike McDonald and crew built McDonald Electric and got it to where it is today, because that's no easy task. Just opening your doors and now you're doing 100-story buildings.
I'll try to make it a little shorter than it normally is. Always impossible for me to do. So I was working for another company within Boston,
Yeah.
a high-profile company. And and again, going back before that, my father was a vocational teacher at Quincy Votech
Mhm.
and then Blue Hills Regional. Had always been in the business, been part of the business, worked in the business, had always had aspirations of having my own company.
Mhm.
At the time, my father was he did work
Did you go to Votech? Did you go to Quincy Votech?
I went to Blue Hills.
Blue Hills. Yeah. Okay.
So
That's why you guys hire all the Blue Hills
we
kids.
we try to mine from all of them.
Sure you do. Yeah.
So we're big advocates in vocational education.
Yeah.
But my father, I worked for him Saturdays in after work.
Mhm.
So
The story
my
of the son of
father
electrician.
said when I graduated high school, my father said, "You got to go work for somebody else." He goes, "If you want to learn more about the business," and in hindsight, at the time you're like, "Well, I'm content with where I am," but in hindsight, you look back and you're like, "Best move I ever made."
Yeah.
First job I ever worked on was the prison in Bridgewater. So my first job was in concrete, slabs, real more industrial types of things. So that was, from a foundational standpoint for me personally, that's kind of where I started. And during my vocational years, I met my business partner, Tom Cooney, freshman year in high school when we played football together. So that was, we have known each other quite some time. And Tom and I both came into the organization at 19 years old, working in the field.
Mhm.
Well, I had always had aspirations of have my own company. Well, I did housework a bit on the side, whatnot.
Mhm.
So get married in 1995. And then I was 27 and my wife got pregnant. I was 27 to 28. And
Perfect time to start a company.
what happened? This is a true story, and if you were to ask her, she'd tell you the same thing. She comes home, and I'm like, "Shit, my clock is running out." So I said, "If I don't do it now, I will never do it." Now I was very fortunate. I bought my first home when I was 21, so we had our own house, but that also came along with bills.
Sure.
Never mind a new child. So my wife will always say I got scared into doing it. So I started assembling a business plan. And I had always worked in large construction. So Tom Cooney approached me and said, "Mike, I've known you obviously a very long time. Would you entertain taking on a partner?" He goes, "I know you. I know you don't want to be a small company." He goes, "To balance a family and begin a business," he goes, "it's going to be practically impossible. You'll never see a child." So I gave it some consideration. I said, "Yeah, let's do it." So during our first, this is one of the running jokes, during the first meeting that he and I met, as we were plotting, and my wife was going through her pregnancy, I put together a business plan. First thing I did is spell business wrong. That's my vocational education. But long story short, okay, where are you going to start? Where are you going to pick up customers? So at the time, it was a robust time in the Boston market. And this was 1999. So our philosophy was, there are a lot of table scraps out there. What if we pick up the table scraps nobody wants? Because at the time, people were like, "Oh, we want to do the larger job. We want to do this." Everyone was letting all these little things go. And we talk about that, from an organizational standpoint in labor and in, the IBEW in general, both locally and nationally, those small jobs that always are lost.
Yes,
So
that's what we said about the jobs that nobody else wants to do.
That's what we did.
Clean up. Yeah.
We went out. We were basically, I think the first 3 months we didn't sign an agreement, but we were maintained communication. As I remember, Richie Gambino was the business manager at that point in time. So we signed on, and it was you'd always have you'd find this job that was a step up, and in terms of testing your sophistication.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the jobs that one of the jobs I'm actually most proud of in Boston was in 2004, which was the Boston Opera House.
Oh wow!
And the job at the time was like a $3.4 million job. Now we didn't do anything approaching that. Our largest job at that time was $1 million or $2 million less than that. But we went after it. It was a very risky job.
3.4 million 25 years ago was a big job.
Yeah. And the thing is, this was a difficult job. So you had a job under a tight timeline. I think it was 9 months to do the job. Lion King was coming to town. The liquidated damages were off the charts. So we couldn't delay that job at all. But the GC at the time took a risk on us. We performed it. Job did well. That's what it considered. Then it stepped us up. Mm. And that's what occurred over time. So
who was the GC?
Suffolk Construction.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was.
I was going to ask how you got your start with Suffolk, and
that was the first job.
That was the first job, yeah.
And I forget how it came out of the woodwork for us. It was by chance, but did the job, and it was very successful. So over time, there were other marquee jobs that were performed, and it kind of helped us grow. South Station Tower, there's nothing like. I always say to me, as somebody who's come from the industry, the basics of it are kind of fundamental because again, it's you look at the floor plate, but there's a lot of floor plates.
Yeah.
And the dolls are very big.
Yeah.
So, and as time evolved too, we evolved as an organization because if you didn't evolve, you weren't going to be successful. And I think one of the things that has separated us and has been how we've embraced technology. So a job like South Station takes a lot of sophistication.
Oh, sure.
Between the BIM coordination, Trimble layouts, accounting, you name it. So all those things had to be in place. So we had to be somewhat a more sophisticated contractor. Sure. And I think we definitely achieved that. And with every job, you take away your lessons.
Yeah. Suffolk as a GC, and to build up a rapport and trust in a relationship with Suffolk. They're in Boston. They're the 800-pound gorilla. They're the biggest and the baddest there is. They're a great contractor, good union contractor, and a lot of our contractors I think might be a little intimidated by them or a little gun shy working with a big company like that. But you guys have kind of embraced it. There's a couple others, but you guys for the most part, whenever Suffolk's got a big job, it's usually that's going to be McDonald Electric. How did you get that with John Fish and with the Suffolk crew?
They were definitely a very demanding company. It still are.
Oh yeah.
By the way, that's not changed. They were a very hard driving company, and I think we had to match that in terms of our intensity, and I believe we did.
Yeah.
One of the mantras that I've always lived by is I'd rather lose money than reputation. You can always make money back, but you can't get reputation.
That's for sure, yeah.
So, you do what you have to do. You take risks. God knows there's been enough risks over the year. You still take them to today. Mm-hmm. I think with all these companies, and maybe stuff was a little bit further ahead of the curve with some people on certain aspects back then. The client base has really changed out across the landscape, not only locally but nationally. But the contractual language is very arduous that you have to deal with, and they all have the nuances. There's no perfect contractor out there. I actually look more at the developer than I do the contractor, to be honest with you. but you have to just execute your job.
Oh, yeah.
So as long as you do your job, usually that takes care of about 90% of it.
Sure.
Normal times.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to match them intensity-wise.
Yeah.
And there's nothing worse than not, you can't use the fact that, well, we're not making money, I can't put in more people here. Well, the best thing to do when you're not making, when the job's going difficult and you need people on the job, flood the job, get the job done. Get that albatross off your back.
Yeah. I mean, 27-year-old kid, you got a baby on the way, newly married, decide to, take a chance, throw it all, throw the dice, open up your own company, dealing with, the sharks out there in the development world and the construction world in Boston. That's a huge, huge risk that you took on. Did you like secretly hit the Powerball, or do you have a trust fund somewhere how does one manage that kind of commitment? It's pretty impressive. I mean, a lot of our companies in 103, multi-generational companies, and they're established, and you just went in and cold turkey and started and built on arguably one of the biggest and better companies in Boston. I'm so intrigued by it, Mike. It's really impressive.
You just hit on probably the biggest and hardest thing about starting a company. And in today's, and I'll go back to the differences between today and back then, but back then people said, well, you need to have money in the bank. You'd have to need $200,000-$300,000 in the bank, something like that. Well, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth, right?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, you're a working guy. You're a working guy.
My father was a vocational teacher.
Yeah.
So I wasn't borrowing $100K from him.
Right.
So, but I did have a $30,000 credit line in my house. I'm laughing, but that's the truth.
Yeah.
Being naive I was absolutely naive. If I knew what I knew today, I would tell somebody today, oh, dude, you're not even close to starting.
Right. Naivety kind of helps you, right? Wasn't an obstacle.
Yeah. I would also attribute a lot of my success, is listening to the people whom I surrounded myself with. So I made a very, between Tom and I, we made a very conscious effort to surround ourselves with people who knew the industry. What I mean by that is your accountant, your banker, your attorney, people who work in our industry. In other words, too often, I'm going to use the accountant my dad uses who does my taxes.
Right.
They don't know how to do that.
Right.
So, and I was fortunate enough that we did find the right people, and they were mentors to me in terms of just learning those disciplines.
Sure.
The thing is, I listened to those disciplines and adhered to those disciplines, and our organization does as a whole. And that's, I think, what I would attribute a lot of, to success toward.
Yeah.
And it's taken a lot of time. And the thing is,
Definitely
you see a lot of people too that they do a large job and they get a big check.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go buy a boat.
Yeah.
Guess what? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of you got to keep a very tight belt for many, many years. I mean, it might be a lot of money you can develop. The more the money builds in the bank doesn't mean you have more money to spend on a bigger boat.
Right.
You still have to keep it there to build a bigger company.
It's really the non-glamorous side of the business, right? We're pipe and wire guys, but there's a whole team, like you said, of attorneys that execute contracts, bankers that make sure your credit line's okay, accountants that make sure every penny's in the right column where it's supposed to be. That's a side of the business that we don't really take, much stock in. But as a business owner, you better be paying attention to those things, or you won't be a business owner long, right?
100%. I mean, it's just because you're paying people, X amount of dollars per hour in his envelope.
Mm-hmm.
You could also remember a month later, you could also pick up you to pay his benefits.
Yep.
Now that isn't just a luxury. No, they're owed that.
Yep.
They're owed that money. That's part of the agreement that you made
Of course.
through us, between us and IBEW and signing on that CBA. So you got to be that's why I say, because you have a lot of the money. The thing is, the money comes in this hand and goes out that hand
Sure.
very quickly. So some of those principles along the way, definitely.
Yep.
So everything, so through time, you're fortunate enough, you have enough success. Not every job makes money. Not every job was a grand slam. There was a lot of doubles and singles, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you, there was some pretty bad wipeouts too. A little bit of all, but you have to gradually grow.
Yeah, base hits though. Consistently hitting base hits is how you do.
And I think today, as I look at things today, the cost of entry into the market is far greater than it was when I was younger.
Yeah.
And what has driven that cost is technology. What you need technology-wise to effectively implement a job.
What kind of technology are you talking?
Well, I'll start with some basics. Your accounting
Estimating
systems,
software type
accounting
stuff?
systems,
Yep.
estimating software. But today, I talk about Trimble. So in other words, but to do Trimbling, which Trimble, for those who aren't aware, it's you're basically you're setting secure fastening points toward a building in order to to hang whatever piece of apparatus you're hanging. But in order to even do that, ahead of that, you'd have to do building image modeling, as they refer to in short-term BIM.
There was no BIM and there was no Trimble. We were coming up to the trade, right?
Zero.
Yeah.
Those things did not exist. So in those are, today, if you don't have somebody to do that, not to mention, obviously we want everyone to be safe. The safety being instituted on projects is now become very expensive. And
Safety,
obviously it's worthwhile to keep everyone safe. And
Yep.
I'm not complaining about extra costs for that, but it is very expensive because today safety is I always say enforced a lot more. Lou, I'm sure you can remember being on a job site. Stupid things such as, well, not stupid things. Let me rephrase that. Things such as like hard hats.
Sure.
Air protection, eye protection, respirators. I used to drill concrete constantly. I'd go home, I'd be blowing white dust on my nose consistently.
Remember those days? Yep.
That was commonplace.
Yeah.
Today,
Yeah.
silica is not a joke. And they discovered, that's pretty harmful for you. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, I'm on borrowed time, I guess.
Talk about technology. I remember working out in Deer Island in the early 90s. The general foreman on the job said, these plan benches, in the electric room, they got a plan bench and there's all sets of plans. He said, in the future, it's going to be computers at all these plan benches. And everybody was like, what are you talking about? No way. A computer's going to replace, a set of drawings. But, every plan bench, every job you got, the foreman got they got iPads and laptops and 60-inch computer screens with the drawings on them.
Our foremen today don't walk around with plans.
Right.
They walk around with iPads.
Yeah, tablet, whatever.
Now, I'm becoming a dinosaur in this industry. I need that piece of paper to hold on to and write and doodle on and whatnot. Today, the younger generation, they're wired differently.
Yeah.
With technology and how they use it. But yeah, every job site, that's what you're going to see. Your gang boxes will have a large TV monitor, and that's what people will go back to reference.
Yeah.
So how that operates today is very different as well. Back in the day too, you'd be constantly talking with, say, somebody installing the ductwork on a job site. Well, I'm going to run it at this elevation. Okay, well, I'll make sure I drop below you at this elevation.
Right.
that type of dialogue does not happen anymore. That's drawn. The job is basically drawn before it's built.
Yeah.
So you built that job in virtual world first, and then it's being applied to real world.
Yeah.
So definitely something, and we're going to see a lot of changes coming up too. There's within a short period of time, and it's already been instituted. People were going around wearing smart glasses.
I was going to say the meta glasses. That's next.
So from a coordination
Yeah.
standpoint, you can go around and basically you're going to see things virtually through your glasses.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
And that's the reality.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already underway. It's already happening. You go to the different trade shows that exist, and you're seeing that.
Yeah. Unbelievable. I mean, the evolution of the electrical industry in just the 25 or 30 years that we've been in the industry has come. It's just accelerated so fast. We're like living in the future when it comes to some of the technology. How is McDonald Electric and Mike McDonald, how is the evolution with your relationship with Local 103? Like, how has that changed and gone from when you started to where you are today?
Well, with the change of the industry and having all these new systems, technology that's brought in, there is always the back and forth with that. If I am to speak specifically about 103, there's been tremendous labor management cooperation. In other words, there's dialogue. We don't always agree. Let's face it, we don't always agree. But there's also there's an ear that's going to listen and be practical about things. I think, no, I won't. Let me rephrase that. I don't think. I know we are a model for the country. Now, I'm fortunate enough. I was recently.
Yeah, you got a new job at NICA,
put
right?
on as through NICA, and for those who aren't familiar with it, NICA's National Electrical Contractors Association. So essentially, NICA represents management side. IBEW is the labor side, and we negotiate as IBEW represents the workers. We represent the management, but having that dialogue is incredibly important toward all of our success. 103, particularly today, is a model for the country. And I know this even more so, and it's more amplified because the area that I represent from a NICA standpoint today, and I just recently took the position on, I represent Quebec, all New England, New York, New Jersey.
The regional vice president?
Yes.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah,
on that. I heard
it's,
that. That's great. Yeah,
District 1 vice president.
that's great.
So I have the opportunity that I speak with other, managers and meet with, and oftentimes I do talk to, the business managers
The
as
IBEW
well.
reps, yeah.
So just through interaction, through different things that are going on. And, I could use Philadelphia recently, who is, you're starting to see people who are looking at our model and want to adopt our model. So you're seeing more of it.
Yeah.
And it is being praised throughout the country. It doesn't exist in a lot of places still.
Yeah, you mentioned Philly. I mean, we had that little summit that we had with the IBEW folks in Boston, the NICA folks in Boston went down to Philly and kind of talked about business development, talked about the industry, compared notes, similar size markets, similar size cities. Super successful way to share our experiences with other local unions and other regions. And I think we've been doing a lot of that the last couple of years. And it's part of what the partnership is all about is going wherever we have to find models of success to kind of adopt or to compare or to share. And I think that's kind of why we've been so successful, because we communicate, because we respect one another, because we talk through things. Before we came in here, we were talking about issues that affect us, not the craziest major issues in the world, but issues of everyday stuff that, it sometimes need tweaking and need talking through. so both of us can understand
Yeah.
what they are. And I think we've done a great job doing that.
For anybody who were to listen to this, if there's one thing I'd want you to walk away from is to understand that we're in this together.
Right.
Management, labor are in this together, and by virtue of that, our families are in this together.
Mm-hmm.
We're joined at the hip.
Sure. It's a marriage.
If we're not
Right.
we're not successful,
Right. We're not successful.
you're not successful, and vice versa.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I'm fortunate enough. I've worked both sides of the fence, from management and also on the labor side. But our success is truly driven by the cooperation, having the ability to have dialogue, to talk honestly. And again, as long as you understand, you can walk away. You don't always have to agree, but there is a continued respect for one another.
That's right.
And that projects out toward our customers, toward the developers, toward the end users, and that's going to continue to evolve and always improve.
Yeah.
And we do it, I think. Again, rephrase it. I know we do it better than most, if not all, the people in the country.
Yeah.
We are the model of people looking at today.
Yeah.
And it's been demonstrated by what you see.
Yeah. I've always taken the approach where if, I can represent my members better and achieve more at the bargaining table for my members and you as well. If we have a cohesive, open dialogue in a good working relationship, if I can call Mike McDonald any day of the week and talk about an issue that we're having, I'm able to do my job better. And I think it's the same for you, as opposed to waiting 3 years or 4 years or whatever the contract length is to start talking. Okay, I'm not going to talk to Mike for 3 years, but then when it's contract time, we're going to talk about and resolve all the issues that we've had in the last 3 years. We're like constantly talking, constantly bringing up issues that affect both sides and navigating through them, so it's not all or nothing at contract time. And I think we can bring more back to each side of the table by doing that, by having that relationship. And it's worked on our side. I know that, and I'm hearing from you that it works for you guys as well.
Yeah, lines of communication are paramount to success. And again, as issues come up during the duration of during any contract period,
Sure.
The issues that come up during the way that you work toward to come to some type of resolution, they can then be carried forward toward negotiating the next CBA.
I got a great for instance on how we're in the middle of a contract. We're 3 years into a 5-year contract. This past year and the current year we're in right now, we wanted to implement some changes to the pension. Now, everything that you talk about with health, the pension, or trust funds has got to be done at the labor management table at the trust fund. So we come up with some ideas, and typically, like you mentioned around the country, it would be a no from one side of the table or the other if they wanted to make changes in between a contract, so to speak. But we come up with some ideas, and first thing we did was sat down with you, some other contractors at NECA, talked about why we thought they were important, talked about whether we could afford to do these changes, and talked about the common sense and the effect it would have on the contractors. If people are going to go to mass retirement, that's not going to be good to execute projects. And we talked it through like we always do. And we got to a point where both sides understood the need and the ability to execute it. And we did, and we offered a great benefit to our members and to your employees. And I thought that was a great example in how we work together. Because when you talk to people around the country that say, I can't talk to them unless it's us we're negotiating, because they would never, they would never agree, or we would never, bring it up or agree either. And I think it's a hats off to our table, to our labor management team, to get stuff done for both sides.
I would say this, I've been very fortunate. I've sat on many committees and in different forums, and I seeing and being part of that, whether it be part of the decision making or listen to certain individuals, and having sat here on the pension fund here at 103, the trust funds on some occasions, I've seen 103 far better than most in terms of the proactive approaches they have taken in terms of anticipating cost issues, whether it be the funding of the pension funds or the ongoing issue of healthcare. Those proactive approaches have kept us in a very healthy zone.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of young people, they want to see money into their check and all that.
Mm-hmm.
When they get to my age, which will be 58 here within the next month, you look back and you're like, holy shit, it is great to know that you have that nest egg there.
Mm.
And so often, I read a lot of articles and whatnot. People don't start thinking about it till they're 50 years old. It's too late.
Right.
So, what people might take for granted and kind of annoyed by or whatnot when they're younger, they will eventually will see the light and say, wow, how fortunate are we in having that in the trust funds of between IBEW and NECA, in managing that and taking those proactive approaches and keeping those funds healthy. And they're extremely healthy, as I've seen the data on. That's a testament to the leadership that has been ongoing on both sides.
Yeah. No, both sides have done great as trustees managing our funds. Mike Donovan, Rich Gambino before him, prudent stewards of our collective monies, and we're reaping the benefits of it today because you can't give additional benefits if you can't afford to pay for them.
No,
Right? You want to raise the multiplier for the pension, you want to increase health benefits, or you want to increase pension benefits or give a bonus benefit at the time of retirement. You don't do that unless you're well over 100% funded, and that's where we are because of great trustees like yourself and others. In looking back, I remember the goal was always, we're going to get to 100% funded, in 12 years and 10 years, it was always this far away land to get to 100% funded and zero fund liability. And we've actually got there, and now we're exceeding it, and now we have money to spend on benefits to increase the lives of our members while still making sure that they can afford to live day to day. And that's just something that the union model, I think, doesn't talk about enough, from the contractor standpoint to the union standpoint, just how much and how valuable what we offer really is.
No, I think having been in the room, you recognize how fiscally responsible those trust funds have been.
Yeah.
And you go back to a company and what it takes to be in business for quite a long time.
Right.
Fundamentally speaking, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's keeping the fundamentals of the finances solid and in place. So whether it be, running a business or running a trust funds, same thing.
Right.
You have to look at things objectively. Unfortunately, our friends in D.C. don't always look at things fiscally responsible. They just think that you just write a check and it cashes.
Yeah, both sides,
well, it doesn't work with us.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We don't have we don't have the machine.
We ain't getting any bailouts.
We
ain't getting any bailouts if we fail.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Absolutely. The last thing you want is, like you say, because we never had to experience.
Yeah, we have to balance. We have to balance budgets, whether it's your business, whether it's the union, or whether it's the members' money and the health and the trust funds. We have to make sure the money's there to pay the bills, because if the doctor's bill comes in for your kid or my kid or a member's child that's got something wrong, we got to be able to pay those doctor's bills. How exorbitant they are, that's another problem for another day. But we got to make sure we're paying the bills, keeping the lights on, and making sure members get the benefits they want. And there's no bailouts coming from DC.
And that's something that should never be underappreciated, is how good the healthcare is that we enjoy and we take granted for.
Mm-hmm.
And too many people do take this for granted. Because it is so good, yeah, it costs money. And there has to be anticipation because guess what? Costs of healthcare is continue to go up.
Yep.
Case in point, and we've talked about this at trust funds as well. You know, there's while procedures are staying somewhat steady, if not somewhat dropping, cost of medication is going up. Life expectancy is going up.
Yep.
So keeping that responsible pension in place is also because it's funny. All these things tie in some
Sure they do.
in some way because you know it's great having the health care, but it's costly.
Yeah, people are living longer. We got to carry them longer.
And then you got to carry them
Part
longer.
of the plan, part of the formula, I guess, right?
That's all this comes into play.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think wisely the trust fund administrators over the years and the people have rotated in and out. They've hired great people that advise us.
Yeah.
Really fantastic individuals who are very knowledgeable in what they do and help us keep ourselves out of trouble.
Amen to that. Amen to that.
You know, and again, I know it's nobody wants to hear, oh, I got to pay more for this.
Mm.
Well, guess what? Things go up.
Yeah.
It's you're doing the responsible thing because if it goes the wrong way, it's going to cost you a lot more.
Yeah. We had Mike Donovan come down, sat in here in the chair, the RN, and just talk about the state of the trust funds, talk about the health, talk about the pension, the increases in the benefits that we've made in the last few years. And he's just such a world of information, really knowledgeable, very articulate to just talk in plain language of all the benefits you get. And I find myself in awe sometimes just listening to him go off about the state of the benefits of the IBEW NICA, what we've established here. It is incredible, and it's something that we should all be proud of as being stewards of it. And I know I am.
He does an outstanding job, and to find a CPA that has humility and a personality is very rare.
Yeah.
Mike happens to have that.
Yeah. That's an understatement for having some personality there.
But usually those two things don't come together. But
Yeah.
no, Mike does an outstanding job.
Yep.
Incredibly bright individual, and I if you were to, I'm trying to think, how many billions of dollars does he have to manage out of that office?
Right.
It's 6, 7.
Yeah, more. It's not quite that yet. When I came on as a trustee about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we would trust the board of trustees. I think you were on the board of trustees at the time. We're just celebrating that we hit $2 billion in total trust fund assets, and 2 years ago we hit $4 billion. So we are growing. We're still increasing benefits, and we continue to grow the pot and the kitty to, keep the future looking bright. It's
$4 billion.
Yeah.
And run out of upstairs.
Right.
That's
run out of this building.
That is a impressive accomplishment.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, switching gears a little bit, and I know we talked about the complexity and of one of your jobs, South Station, that's over. But you guys got another big job down in Quincy for the MBTA, that electric bus terminal. That's a massive job on its own. And I know it's an MBTA job. We talked a little bit about the airport and how important those jobs are to the 103 family community to keep people working. And I know that job wasn't under it. And what you see, I know you do a lot of job out at Logan Airport on the runways, the high voltage stuff. It hasn't been publicly announced yet. I'm hoping it'll be publicly announced by the time this podcast airs, is that, a couple years ago we worked hard to get some legislative changes for to be pro-public PLA. The last 10, 20 years have been difficult to get public PLAs executed legally, and we worked hard to get that changed. The governor reinforced it with an executive order to promote PLAs in her administration, and now we have some major PLAs coming at Massport, in the MBTA, for their capital improvement projects, which is billions of dollars in each individual agency that we're so looking forward to, and that's an area where McDonald excels. Like Massport and the MBTA. Talk about some of those, the working for those agencies and what PLAs will mean to you guys.
Well, I think PLAs are incredibly important because you're talking about highly sophisticated jobs that you need very experienced mechanics on.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the union excels is in the term of the training and the professionalism that our members are.
Yeah.
But having the right training to do that work, this is the workforce you want to draw from. Those two agencies, I know that the MBTA has been under heat for numerous years. I believe under Eng's leadership, I think it's done much better.
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
And, to speak to the MBTA in particular, I know there's a lot of work going on across the transit system. They're investing in future technologies or future equipment, such as powered buses.
Yep, Quincy. Yep.
Quincy is the first one that they're building. There is another one coming up behind it. From what I understand, I'm not sure when the date is that. But that's been, we're probably 50+% of the way into that one.
Yeah.
Going to be complete by the year end. Great job. Massport, same thing. But there are nuances and rules that apply to these agencies that don't apply to, say, some other, generic private development.
Sure.
And like I say, having the skill sets that 103 has within their membership in what they offer is very important. And again, you get what you pay for.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think the PLA is well served for all the residents of Massachusetts, even though the people always tend to look at the price tag. Well, look a little deeper.
Yeah, if your project doesn't finish on time, the price tag is much steeper. The end price is always much steeper than the beginning price if the job's not done right.
Absolutely.
Yep, and that's something that definitely. Talking about Massport, 10 years ago, Massport was not a place that we were doing that well at. We were struggling. We had, bigger non-union contractors were in there doing a lot of work. Maybe not on the air side, but definitely on the land side, with some of the terminals and some of the infrastructure over there, and with help with companies like McDonald Electric and a few other bigger local 103 contractors, getting together in a room, putting our heads together, strategically using our market recovery funds, what they were intended to do. We've been able to claw back just about all of that work over at Massport, and it's been one of the highlights, I think. When I look at what we've been able to accomplish together, that being one of them, I'm really proud that we've been able to kind of solve, getting that Massport work back, because there's always infrastructure, there's always work going on out there, and it's a great millions of man hours every year we get to work, as you know.
So I have a little bit of an interesting history with Massport. In my previous life, when I was working for somebody else, I started working at Massport in 1992 or 1993. It was called Logan 2000.
Yep.
And it was the start of a master plan that was developed to modernize all of Logan Airport. And at that point, I don't know if there were any union shops working out there. Yeah. If there were, it was very few and sporadic. Yeah. And that definitely changed. Yeah. At the same time, there tends to always be that period of time that somebody tries to push the envelope and get in there. But other than that, it's been mostly union, the union market out there.
Yeah.
But people should be very proud of Logan Airport. It's become such an international hub. I'm not sure what the passengers are at right now, but you look at between the design of the new airplanes and where they're going from, like from Logan, you can go to Hawaii nonstop now. I think they go Dubai nonstop, if I'm not mistaken.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, I've not visited there either. But the number of nonstop destinations that run right from Logan Airport.
It's a world-class airport. You drive through
incredible.
there, you walk through there, you see the quality of the craftsmanship that built that place. And there's another hole in the ground. They could build an add-on to the parking garage. Each terminal is add-on. They just did Terminal E. There's another Terminal C. It's got a giant addition coming, $2 billion JetBlue expansion.
So yes, that's actually just went on the contract.
Yeah.
So
That's
they
gonna
just
be under
came.
the PLA. Yep.
What's that?
It's going to be under that new PLA,
Yeah,
as is the
that's
park
actually
and ride down in Braintree.
What I was told was under that one, the JetBlue is private development.
Yep.
But this is private lease back through through Massport. The GC said they're pushing them to go with the PLA because they said it doesn't necessarily fall under the PLA because it's not under Massport.
Sure, it's private because it's JetBlue, but yeah,
JetBlue's
agreed. JetBlue's agreed to do it.
They'd
under
be
the
fools
PLA.
not to.
Yeah, they've agreed to it.
But yeah, that's quite an undertaking. That project is essentially that entire terminal's coming down.
Yeah.
And JetBlue's created quite a presence over there. But if you look at over there, they're going to connect A to B together, so you can fly into Terminal A, not go outside of security, maintain behind the house.
Yeah.
And you're going to be going to B. Terminal E is adding the other 3 gates now.
Yep.
That were lopped off prior to
COVID.
9/11.
Yep. COVID, I think, right?
Then you have North Gate, where they're consolidating a lot of facilities right now. We're actually out there doing early enabling work right now.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So we've been doing some work there. We are doing. They have the parking garage that's going in front of Terminal E. One of the most interesting projects I would love to. I'm looking forward to seeing and has been talked about forever, has been a tram system that would connect all the airport over to the Blue Line, MBTA,
wow. Yep.
and then back through. Would go through what they call a Conrack, which is where you rent cars.
Parking garage, yeah, the car rental.
That's been. The thing is, obviously, there's a big price tag there.
Sure.
But that would be a crowning achievement there
All
for
electric.
sure. Yeah.
Be all electric too.
Yep.
They're also talking about where the park and ride is in Braintree, off of 93 there.
Yeah.
Talking about 2 massive parking terminals there, and a check-in where you can check your bags, and go right to your terminal on the bus when you get to Logan. So that's going to be part of that PLA that we're talking about. So that'll be almost $1 billion job right there in Braintree. It's going to be unbelievable, the amount of work they got coming.
But if they're doing it in Braintree, they're going to be doing it at all the parking rides.
Yeah.
So yes, I've heard all about that.
That's great. Yeah.
So with large new parking, so basically the facilities will be there. You'll check in there. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. Going through security and all that, but I think essentially, I think you're checking all your baggage and checking in for your flight, but you probably still have to do standard security when you get here.
Yeah.
But I have heard a lot about that.
Awesome.
I don't know what the timeline is on it. But I think it's an exciting job, and I think it's a great way to, especially when anything you do to save traffic here in Boston would be
absolutely
appreciated.
Yeah, ain't that the truth? So, I mean, outside of all this work at Massport, outside all this work at MBTA, what else is McDonald Electric looking at and doing? I know you guys are big in the pharmaceutical and the
Farmer has been a big element for us for a number of years, but that market has slowed up.
Sure. They've overbuilt it
quite substantially right now.
Yeah.
We are looking heavily with transportation because that seems to be
The money's at,
where there seems to be quite a bit of work that is happening. We continue to work toward the expansion of our service department, which is a lot of small jobs.
Yep.
That has been year-over-year growth that we've seen that has developed as well. We continue to try to expand our footprint beyond just Boston. We were very fortunate that we had so much work within a small geographical area, but we've been trying to spread that footprint out. And with diversification, we bought a company down in Rhode Island, so now we're operating down the Rhode Island market.
It's great. They're a great market down there. The IBEW guys in Rhode Island are awesome.
It's been going well.
Yeah,
it's
good.
been going
Glad to
well.
hear
We're
that,
doing
yeah.
quite a bit of work for Brown Medical right now, actually. And we will continue to look at other markets. I mean, right now, you want to, through the acquisition of that, you want to get things up and operating the way you expect, or I would expect, and then may look at other markets. When we were down in Philly, I talked to them down there. You look at the D.C. market that feeds out toward Virginia. The electrical industry, our industry here is far different than the rest of the United States.
Oh, sure.
So we were always so busy. Like, so if you look at New York, Boston, Seattle, San Francisco,
Well,
the large metropolitan cities, right? They always carried a lot of work. Well, what's happened is the mega projects are now occurring in the Midwest,
small towns,
in
the Midwest,
small towns. These data centers are amazing how large they are, and also chip plants. That's going to be something. Unfortunately, we're not seeing it here.
Right.
I don't think you're going to see much of it here because of aging costs and real estate costs in itself.
Yep.
But this market will evolve. You know, we have some, let's say, there's some great future work. Just the demand has to be there. I mean,
we've been
one place that you have not brought up that is a major project is Procter & Gamble.
Yep.
They came out with their master plan. There are 54 buildings going in there.
Yeah.
I think that would be very exciting. I think there in Bayside, I think are two exciting areas.
Yeah. And the couple of markets that we haven't talked about yet, but always worthy of talking about because we're so proud of, is the hospitals in the university system in Boston. I mean, that's what built Local 103 into what it is today. You know, 6,000-7,000 person local, building hospitals, the world-class hospitals and university system that we have. Now it's kind of rolled into what the pharmaceutical build-out has been the last 12, 15 years. It's just really, that's our bread and butter here. I mean, I'd love to get a few data centers, don't get me wrong, or a few chip plants. We don't have any 100-acre sites anywhere near the city, but the hospitals continue to find places to build billions of dollars worth of, hospital beds and medical centers and emergency rooms and cancer treatment centers, which is unbelievable. And the research,
always an exciting market. And I think Boston far and away leads the country in research too. I was speaking to somebody out of Texas, and I was asking about the hospitals down there just out of curiosity. They have some enormous and very highly esteemed medical centers, but they don't have the research. So all these trials are going through areas. I mean, obviously, there's consolidation that is taking place. I think there's a lot of money that's an industry going through a metamorphosis right now.
Yeah.
There was an article this morning, even on Norwood Hospital.
Yep.
That was demolished and made way for a new hospital under Stewart Development, and I think it's anybody listening knows about the demise of Stewart.
Yeah.
But
the state just took them over in the eminent domain,
yeah,
and they're probably going to auction off to another hospital
That's
network,
what I'm hearing.
and to get that job going again will be
Carney Hospital as well.
Yeah, that's going to be a huge development. That land, that site there, is massive in Dorchester, right down on Dort Ave in Carney Hospital. So there's a major development in the plans right now. I mean, infancy stages, but it's coming.
Right now, under the current administration, the problem is some of to a lot of hospitals, small hospitals in particular, funding is cut off, NIH funding, and I've seen it impact. Unfortunately, I've seen it impact some
talking about the DC administration, the Trump administration. Right.
That's
research in hospitals is not their not their thing right now.
Trying to watch my tongue.
Yes.
But you still have, like, say, partners that they'll tell you, and I've spoken to people over there, they have such great donors. I mean,
Sure.
big donors
Philanthropists.
that are keeping, that perpetuating forward. And I think they generally have, it's going to be a continued thing here. That market's not going to go away. It may ebb and flow a little bit. I think you'd say the same thing with the universities.
Sure.
Again, those are the areas that we've consistently worked in. We just actually recently finished. I'm not sure if you saw any of the publications on the treehouse in the ERC site.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it was all a large.
an unbelievable
It was
project.
a large convention center.
Yeah.
All built with lumber.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Timber.
That unbelievable project. So that that research center you're talking about over at Harvard University, and then we have the Mass General Hospital that's under construction right now. Those two projects alone, $5 billion in development for our region. Just those two jobs. I mean, just again, the hospitals, the universities, just massive amounts of work that come to our contractors and our members every single year. Millions of man hours. It wouldn't be what we are without it.
Well, the thing is, let's not even talk about just the building of it, which obviously that's a nice little adrenaline boost, but it's the maintenance of them.
Yeah. Yep.
The amount of small revolving work that we do, and I talked about a service division, and that's kind of part of it.
Sure.
I mean, we do a lot of work in education in different areas through our service department. I mean, they require a lot of that.
Yeah.
There are a number of facilities, whether it be GE and Lynn, whether it be Windsor School in the Longwood area, a number of clients like that.
Yeah.
Raytheon
Sure.
is another one. Our service division is absolutely a continued focus for us, because when the job is done, who maintains it?
That's right.
And we cannot lose sight of that.
Right. That's the most important thing when we're walking off the job, to make sure whoever's coming in to maintain the building itself, the security, the low voltage, the high voltage, or the fire alarm, to make sure it's our folks. And the fact that you guys are growing in that part of that sector of our industry is great to hear.
Yeah, I don't. That's been every year. There's a lot of emphasis within the company on that. Actually, we're spreading that model now down to Rhode Island. You're talking about technologies like your iPads, your scheduling, your information, your ticketing information. It's all on that iPad.
Yep, that's right. Thank God. Thank God it's somewhere.
Yeah. But no, it's an important aspect of what we do. Between that and also the utility side, I think there's still a lot of work to be coming down. I've been trying to watch it. There's a lot of work on the power distribution side, on the utility side of things.
Yeah.
This country, and in particular this region, is deficient on power or the infrastructure to transport the power.
Yeah, I mean, it's been neglected for decades, and then all of a sudden there's a need and a surge for more power for these data centers, for these hospitals, for these microchip plants, and it's putting a major strain on the energy system in this country. And you're going to see they're talking about bringing nukes back. They're talking about building power plants again, and all of the above approach. Another sector of the industry where McDonald kind of excels at is power stuff, right?
That we definitely do.
Yeah.
We're not on the transmission side.
No.
On the underground side, other power, we do quite a bit at that. We have a division of the company that handles that type of work.
Yeah.
But it's an area that I expect more robust growth in the future. I think power in general is, again, one of those subject matters you don't want to get me on, because I'll go on for too long. But, you're going to start to see now that you're seeing a lot of private investment in fusion, and that could be a
Small
project
scale
that
nuclear
come to
reactors,
our region very before you know it.
Yep. Yeah. Bring it on. markets.
Absolutely.
They can prove that technology that'll change the world, right?
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, a little nuclear.
No emissions.
Nuclear reactor in the back of a 18-wheeler.
Pretty much.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just bring them into a place where they got power lines, and there you are. You're up and going.
It's not that simple, but
Well,
it's
in theory, I guess it is.
I
I mean, that's what they talk about out at Commonwealth Fusion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Are they?
A couple of tractor trailer type trucks.
Yeah.
That's the size of them. I mean, it's pretty intense amount of work that goes with it,
Yeah.
but change the world, and they don't have the the toxicity that regular nuclear power has. Which it's 100,000 years of toxic waste. Where these the fusion plants, the waste is very minimal. Very minimal.
The byproduct of that is water.
Yeah.
As opposed to what's the half-life of plutonium?
Yeah.
Say 1,000 years.
Yeah, right.
That's a half-life.
Right.
I'm not going to last for that long.
Yeah, no, me neither. But so what's next up in the future? What does you see for the future, the next step, next 10 years for McDonald Electric?
Just to continue to build on the markets that we're in right now.
Yeah.
I think we basically handle most aspects of it: communication, utility, electrical construction. But we've seen, and actually looking at if I go back over the number of years, there's always an ebb and flow in terms of what markets are really hitting. One thing that I think is going to be very popular, is very popular already, is your audiovisual markets that are out there. Again, the growth of the service, I can't say that enough. The electrical construction side of it, it's more about demand. I mean, there's a lot of buildings being built, then that division can grow. If there's not a lot of buildings built, it's hard to grow something like that.
Yeah, you're probably not going to see any more office towers for a while. I mean, I think
Not for a while.
might have been the last one, I mean, for a lot of different reasons.
Yep.
But after COVID, people don't need 10 floors now; they need 3 floors because of the work from home model and things like that.
I think there's more I think more people are starting to get back in. I read an article this morning, and this is the first I've actually seen something like this, but Bernardo Real Estate is building its first speculatory tower in New York.
Wow.
They're going back into building because they said the demand of TI
That's great.
is so high. And my hope is that's a bellwether for what we may see. Sure. And one thing, there was an opportunity I was talking about with, in terms of the mayor in development, we talked about height restrictions. But I think there's a great opportunity, and I think there should be one, to incentivize development along the waterfront, around the harbor, because then you can deal with the rising tides. So in other words, Lilly is a great example of that. They raised that whole elevation up to deal with rising sea levels. Now, if you look at, again, right next to it there, where they're putting, there's different developers working on different projects, but areas like that, in the Four-Port Channel is especially susceptible to flooding. By incorporating great development in environmental consciousness in terms of dealing with, the water tables, which ultimately is a result of global warming.
Right.
I think that's an area that should be promoted.
Yeah,
and
that kind of smart development is definitely what's needed, especially in a coastal city like Boston.
Exactly. Yeah. And if I would, if Mayor Wu was sitting here, I would tell her the same thing.
Yep.
You should be encouraging development along that. And I'll tell you, the environmental mitigation that would be incorporated in that job would be money well spent.
Sure.
And I think could be negotiated into that. And it also takes care of a problem of, the flooding within the city. Yeah. And, I think if you've read the studies, whether it be down in Miami, New York, I mean, you see what happened when they had that. Yeah. When Sandy came in.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it.
It's devastating.
That was a small example of what we could see.
Sure. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. Those 100-year storms, it seems like they're every 10 years now or sooner.
No doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. So, again, construction-wise, it's what the market bears.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the interest rates come down a little bit. I think things will start to pick up. They've kind of semi-picked up the last couple of months. You see the forecast for the next 12, 18 months. How do you see it in Boston? From a contractor, a lot of bidding?
A lot of budgeting.
Yeah.
I personally think, because you have to remember, when we secure a large project, we're a year before we're boots in the ground.
Yeah, sure. No doubt.
So I think in the second half this year, you're going to see some pickup and maybe some execution, like
Good.
jobs moving forward. But the labor impact won't really occur to probably 2027 because of the lag.
Sure.
But as long as the pipeline is there, that's what you really want to see.
Sure.
And that's always been the history of our industry.
Yeah. Mike, this has been awesome. This is a great conversation. I'm really glad you came on. I thought it went fantastic. I hope you it was what you thought it would be, but I thought it was a great conversation talking about your company and talking about development in the city and all the markets you're working in, that we're working in together.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Well, I mean, obviously we deal together professionally. I like you a lot personally, and we've always had great conversations,
Sure. Yeah.
whether it be personal or whether it be professional.
Mm-hmm.
We've been able to do that. Talking about the industry, I could talk about all day.
Yeah,
and,
same here.
And I know you're very active, even though, you're the business manager of Local 103 today. That network has to connect to other places as well. So you get that broader look, and membership, I think too often they kind of look in their own backyard.
Always, yeah.
But you got to really look around.
Sure.
And the differences that exist.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on this podcast, Mike. On the job with Mike McDonald. It's been freaking great. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
I left you, my friend.
Yeah, I love it.